Speaking.
What we won't be doing is increasing the taxation burden on the Australian economy at this incredibly sensitive time for our economy. The taxation burden is something that if you increase it, it can retard growth, slow growth, can cost jobs. And so what we will be doing is where there are changes in taxes, we'll also be ensuring that the tax burden is then eased in other areas. And so it is not the government's policy to increase the tax burden on the Australian economy above what is currently projected, and we believe that is the right approach to be taking to support jobs and growth.
Will there be tax cuts for typical Australians earning less than $80,000?
Well, turn up on budget night, Peter, and you'll know the answer to that question.
Treasurer, this is one of, it might even be the closest federal budget ever to a federal election, certainly one of them. Can you say hand on heart that the proximity of the federal election has had nothing to do with your deliberations and what you decide?
This budget is an economic plan. It's an economic plan for jobs and growth and a stronger new economy, a more diversified economy. That's what Australia needs. This is not a typical budget. I agree with you on that. It's not a typical budget because this economic plan is so essential to the country's future, and that's what I've been focusing on.
Treasurer, which do you think is more
Phil?
important? Higher in superannuation contributions?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
You will be making changes though to higher in superannuation.
Yeah, we'll be ensuring that we better target the concessions that are there in superannuation. We've said that for some time. I don't think there's any great secret about that. The details of those things we'll deal with on Tuesday night. But it's important that we get these incentives right, because superannuation is so important for Australians and for their future, and we need to make sure that those concessions are well targeted. Just like last year, we made changes to retirement incomes which ensured that those measures were better targeted. I mean, in times like this, when budgets are tight, you've got to make good decisions, you've got to have targeted spending, you've got to have discipline around your spending, and you don't go throwing money around and paying for that with higher taxes. That's what the Labor Party are proposing to do. That is the worst thing you could do. If you're focused on jobs and growth, then you don't go spraying money around and trying to pay for it with higher taxes. That's the sort of thing people do in panic before an election. It's not what this government will be doing.
Treasurer, which do you think is more important to the stability of the housing market, negative gearing concessions or the CGT concession?
Well, we're not making any changes to either of those things.
The Treasurer, with regard to education, why should Australians back your plan when it's billions of dollars less generous in terms of the education incentives?
For two reasons. It's real money. It's affordable. It will be delivered. The previous government made all sorts of promises in health and education with money that wasn't there. The second thing is the expenditure's targeted, and it's targeted about getting results, back to basic results in education, real outcomes for children in our schools. It's not just throwing cash at a problem, a big bag of cash at the states, which they can just spend as they wish and will. We had a very interesting COAG a few months ago, and it's quite clear that with the additional commitments we're making, $1.2 billion additional commitments to education, which will see funding for public schools increase by around a third over the budget and forward estimates, over 25% overall. That will be more targeted. It'll get results. It'll be focused on making the dollar that we spend go further. Labor's dollars won't go far. There'll just be more money splashed around, and you'll pay for it in either higher taxes or being let down the road because they just couldn't afford it. Thanks very much for your time.